Good morning. Alrighty. Well, we're about to get to our next state in Australia, and we're getting to my favourite part of Australia. But before we get to that, something fishy. This is from Port Lincoln. Some people will kiss anything. I actually heard from some of you that there are other photos swimming around this ship somewhere, but they haven't made it to me. So I'll just have to take your word for it. I've heard there are some Alice in Wonderland themed photos too from yesterday. I do have a photo challenge for you today for Melbourne. This is one I've been looking forward to, so we'll get to that in a bit. Don't let me forget. But let's start with the flag, as we always do, and we'll talk a bit about the state before we get into talking about Melbourne itself. This is the flag for the state of Victoria, and it was the first of Australia's states to have a flag. They were the pioneers of state flags in Australia here, and you can see that essentially they've just wriggled around the Australian flag a little bit, and they've put a crown there, and this is the St Edward's crown. If you know your British crowns, you'll know that there are a few different ones in the Tower of London. One of them is the King Edward, St Edward's crown, and this is this one here on the flag. Something that I found a little bit interesting. I just didn't know this. I suppose it's obvious now that I know it. The stars in the constellation there have different number of points. And you might be wondering, you probably weren't, but you might be wondering why. And the answer is, the brighter the star is in the night sky, the more points it gets when symbolized on a flag. Well, that was quite an interesting little bit of trivia for you. Anyway, the population here is 6.681 million. That is in the state of Victoria, and it's one of the smallest states of Australia. And the most exciting part of visiting Victoria is we are time traveling. Everyone here is still a Victorian. It's true. That's what they're called. They're called Victorians. And I've been reading a book. It's called The Great British Dream Factory, in case you would like the book recommendation. And it's a really fun book, especially if you're British. It's all about things that have been invented or come out of the UK. But one of the things that really struck me at the very beginning of that book was it said, we are basically, and it wasn't talking in reference to Victoria, we are basically all Victorians still. I was like, what? He said, yeah, it's true, because we were brought up, and no offense, but arguably even more so you than me, we were brought up by people who were brought up by Victorians. It's not that far away. And so we still live with the ideas and ideals and values that those people taught the people that taught us. It's not that far away. And I've just thought that was, for me, that was a bit mind-blowing. I was like, well, yeah, I'm a Victorian. Fabulous. Anyway, talking of old things, not you, Victorians. Every state seems to have a state flower or a state animal, a state bird, and Victoria's state bird is the helmeted honey eater, in case you see it. It's about 20 centimetres, about that big. And it's got a little yellow tufted helmet on the top. Sort of the way I'm going, actually. It'll be the only bit left. That and then the mushroom at the side. I look around sometimes on Holland America Line ships and see where I'm going. But some of you have better genes than I've got. Loads of states have these things, but Victoria has a state fossil. Yeah. Doesn't move much. So it's not one of those ones where, I wonder if I'm going to see it. You know you're going to see it if you choose to see it. I'm going to try and read the name for you. It's a little bit complicated. It is the Coolasuchus clelandii. It just trips off the tongue. The Coolasuchus clelandii is 125 million years old, and it is an extinct amphibian, and it is about the size of a car. Can you imagine discovering a fossil the size of a car and then having the state steal it off you because that is state property? Ah, what a wonderful piece in the collection that could have been. Anyway, it was found in 1978 and it soon became the state fossil. If you want to see it, you can. It is in the Melbourne Museum, which is in Melbourne. Let's put it on the map for you. Here we go. So there's the map of Australia as we've been circumnavigating, and you can see that Victoria, Vic at the bottom, is hugging the east coast, the southeast coast, and it is Australia's second smallest state. The total size is 227,600 square kilometres, which is roughly the size of the British Isles. So I'm going home. Despite its small size, Victoria punches way above its weight, and it hosts some of the most important and prestigious events in the Australian calendar, including Christmas, New Year. There's a spring racing carnival here. That culminates in the Melbourne Cup. We've already discussed the Melbourne Cup a little bit because, of course, we met the horse that won, Mackay Diva. We met in Port Lincoln, and so now we're going to be going to nearby the place where she won 3 times. It's the site of the Australian Open Tennis. That's in January, so it's just happened. It's home to the Melbourne Food and Wine Festival. There's the Australian Formula One Grand Prix in March, so we're just ahead of that, but they are building the track if you're interested. You can go to the site and see the work in progress to get that ready. So that's quite exciting. Then later in the year, there are quite a few music festivals, writing festivals. There's the Melbourne Festival in October. So it's really a major cultural and sporting destination for Australia. Here's a picture of the port area itself, and you can see that the port is it's right next to the beach. But B, it's not too far from the city, which you can see at the top of the screen. We're at a port called the Port of Melbourne, and the pier is called Station Pier. There's no station there, so I've got absolutely no idea why it got called that. But you can see that it's got space for a few ships in, space for 4 berths at this port. And you've got a new symbol on the side, and it's this one here. And this is the symbol for a tram. So there are no shuttle buses here in Melbourne tomorrow, but there is a very convenient tram that is just outside the terminal area. You're going to cross the road, and then the tram station is right there. We're going to talk more about transport in the Q&As later, so we'll talk logistics then, but for now we'll end with the tram is the easiest way to get into town. There is tourist information in the port area. There is an ATM machine just outside, so you go out of the port and there's an ATM machine just there. Taxis are around, but only official registered taxis can come into the port area. Uber can drop you off outside the port area, but can't come in. And there is a coffee machine. It's not much, I wouldn't necessarily call it a cafe, but if you really love machine-made coffee, and by the way, in Britain, they did some research about Britain's favourite coffee, and on blind testing, Britain's favourite coffee is the automatic coffee machine at the petrol stations. What low standards do we have? Gasoline-infused coffee? It's our favourite. Yeah, yeah, it really gets you going. All right, this is the map of Melbourne from above. The ship is where the little boat is in the circle. That's Station Pier. And you can see that the box, which is slightly on a tilt, that's the CBD area, the downtown area of Melbourne. And that's a 24-minute tram ride. One tram, hop on at the port itself, and you stay on into the centre of town. Very, very convenient. At peak times, it will get quite busy because all of us will be taking the same tram, but it's not a particularly long journey. There are other places just outside of the CBD that are of interest as well, which we'll cover in this presentation too. But for the most part, I imagine that the majority of you will spend the day in the CBD area. And once you get into the CBD area, the trams are free. And so I'm going to cover more about this later, but that is to say not to put too much money on your travel card, because once you get into the CBD itself, you won't have to pay. So let's get into our top 10 for Melbourne. And let me tell you, I really, really struggled to find a top 10. I've lost my water. Oh, okay. Really struggled to find a top 10 in Melbourne because there's so much to choose from. This is actually 2-in-1, which is why I quite liked it. It's the National Gallery of Victoria, but they've got two sites. It was opened in 1861. It was the oldest museum in Australia. As I said, this is a real cultural hub of Australia. Oldest museum in Australia, and it is the most visited museum in Australia as well. It's split across two sites, and the art that you'll see in the two sites are distinct from each other. So you've got the International Art Site, which is on St Kilda Road. That's the first picture, the wide picture. So it's this older-looking building, stone building. That's got works from major European, Asian, American masters. Then you've got the Ian Potter Centre, which is this metallic-looking structure in the other picture. And that specialises in Australian art. So if you want to see Australian art, you go to the Ian Potter Centre. If you want to see European, Asian, American, international art, then you go to the original building, which is on St Kilda's Road. There is a new gallery that's soon to open that's going to be called the Fox. And the Fox is, when it opens, going to become Australia's largest contemporary art gallery. And for now, whilst they're building that, you can already see a sample of what will be displayed there if you go to the Ian Potter Centre. So they've got a little gallery which gives a teaser of what's still to come if you return in the future. So really great options and free, totally free, the National Galleries of Victoria. If you haven't been to a zoo yet and you still need to cuddle a koala, then Melbourne Zoo is a good option for you. You can reach it fairly easily on the tram as well. Route 58 is the tram you want to get if you are planning to go to the zoo. And the services run every 6 minutes. The trams are very, very frequent. Every 6 minutes, and you're going to get it from William Street, which is right in the centre of the CBD. And you're going to get out at Melbourne Zoo. The stop number is 26, if that is what you want to do. And you can see it's not that far out of the CBD. And something which I think is amazing is that the zoo itself is larger than the CBD. If you have a look on the map there, the zoo is huge. It's a really wonderful zoo. The animals have a lot of space to roam and explore and hide from you as you walk around. So you could think of it as a botanic garden if you don't see the animals. It's 46 Australian dollars to go, and they have a fabulous website address, zoo.org.au. There are 320 species that live in this zoo, and all of them live there by choice. Some of you went to the Migration Museum in Adelaide. Now you can go to the Immigration Museum in Melbourne. This is a fabulous museum in a beautiful building as well. This used to be the old customs house, and it's quite sad, actually, in some places as you go around the museum. Some of it is lighthearted and you'll laugh at some of the stories, but all of the stories told in this museum are true stories, and they're very personal stories. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Oh. Delicious. That's the best water. A la ship. Thank you. If you are of the older disposition, you can get in a bit cheaper actually. It's $10 for seniors, and $15 for the rest of us. But well worth going to. It opened in 1998, and it's on Flinders Street, just by the station, just looking over the river as well. We'll talk about the river in a little bit. And it's set over 2 floors. It talks. The different galleries are split so that you get a whole curated experience. But there's a gallery all about identity, which I find quite interesting. And then of course there are the more historical stories about people went from A to B, and this is how they did it, and this is what life was like when they arrived, and that side of things. But the identity gallery I find the most interesting. It really makes you think about who you are and what you identify with. I love the old posters and things, and how they used to encourage people to come to Australia to do farm work and stuff. And you can still, I think some of you are a little bit beyond it, but if you are under 35, there's a special visa still to come to Australia and to pick apples on the farms and various things. And a lot of people from the UK, I don't know if it's the same from the States as well, but a lot of people from the UK really jump at that opportunity, because Australia is a place that, well, as you know, you don't want to go for just a minute. You want to really go and spend a good time there, like us doing a month around it. And this is a good way to go and have a little bit of spending money to enjoy it too. So this is really fascinating. Talking of immigration, probably somebody who made the most famous international trip to Australia would have to be Captain Cook. And in Fitzroy Gardens, you can visit his parents' house, which is very strange because his parents never came to Australia. They lived, I think, in Yorkshire. So this is a genuine, real, authentic 18th century Yorkshire house from the genuine, real, authentic Yorkshire in England. The house has migrated. I've never heard of anywhere else like this. This, oddly, is the oldest building in Australia. It wasn't born in Australia, but it continues to live in Australia. And you can see that there's a very British cottage feel about it. And that's because it is. So it was moved here, not by Captain Cook. Captain Cook never lived in this house. He'd already moved out and started exploring the world when his parents built it. It was moved here by a philanthropist, Russell Grimwade. Now, I have no idea why this philanthropist thought that this was the charitable spending that was required of him. But he decided that it would be appropriate to box up Captain Cook's parents' house and take it brick by brick to Melbourne. And so in the 1930s, they dismantled the house, which was still standing in Yorkshire, and they loaded it into 253 cases, and then they rebuilt it on the other side of the world as a gift for the people of Victoria. The people of Victoria did say that a box of chocolates would have been fine. It's the thought that counts, really. You didn't need to do it. But since then, they've looked after this quaint 1755 home from Yorkshire. And now it's a bit of a time and space travelling museum, which you can visit in the park. The way that they did it, I just think this is amazing. I still can't get my head around why. But they numbered every single brick, every single roof tile, and everything is in the exact same position that it was in Yorkshire. Then, to take it even further, and I don't know how they got past Australia's strict biosecurity laws, they took cuttings of the ivy that grew in Yorkshire on the house, and that is the ivy that grows on this house in Melbourne. That's why they have the laws now, because of bizarre exercises like this. Anyway, you can go along, you can go inside, you can learn about the move and its English origins and all about its relocation to Melbourne. Unusual place to visit, and I like unusual things. I don't know how much it is to go in at the moment. I couldn't find that information. But anyway, the QR code takes you right to the correct page on the government website. Alternatively, you could go back to jail. Now I realise you've had a day off of going to jail because Adelaide, they're just so well behaved. Adelaide was one of the few settlements in Australia, European settlements, that wasn't a penal colony in that it wasn't originally built with a jail. 18 years later, they realised, okay, bad idea, we need one. But it wasn't originally built with a jail. Melbourne was, and you can visit oldmelbournejail.com.au if you want more information. It's $35 to get out. And it was built in 1839. And the weirdest thing, or most interesting thing for me about this jail is the population of the jail. Because I often think of jails being a home for naughty people like murderers or robbers and other crimes. This was the home of those people as well, and it was the site of over 100 hangings, including, and by the way, you need to come at 1 o'clock to Mike's talk, because it's going to be really good for setting you up for this, including the death of Ned Kelly. And today's talk at 1, so I won't spoil that, is all about Ned Kelly. But you can see Ned Kelly's death mask here in the jail, if that gets you going. But it's not just the adults that were incarcerated here. My favourite inmate of the Old Melbourne jail was a 3-year-old. What heinous crime could a 3-year-old have committed? Well, let me tell you, and this is awful to hear. It's this child was born of the devil. This child was locked away for 6 months for the crime of idleness. A 3-year-old for idleness. Locked away with real serious criminals like Ned Kelly. A 3-year-old who didn't want to play outside. I mean, for goodness sake. Anyway, it's a short walk from Melbourne Central Station if you are interested to go. And if you want to go on the tram, remember the tram inside the CBD is free. And you go on tram at stop number 7, which is on the corner of La Trobe and Russell Streets. Okie dokie. Did you know, this is for the military enthusiasts here, did you know that Melbourne was once a powerhouse of the arms trade? Yeah. And this is a shot tower. It used to be one of the tallest buildings in the city. And now it's in a shopping mall. And so they've built this dome around it, but they've conserved this tower. And it's fascinating how the shots were made. So this is bullet shots. And back before modern manufacturing techniques, what they used to do was they would have the molten metal at the top of the tower, and a person would drop a pellet or a little dollop of this molten metal, and it would fall fast down the height of the tower into a splash pool at the bottom. And when it hit the splash pool, it solidified, and then they would collect up all of the bullets that they'd made. And that was how they used to make shot. And so the taller the tower, the better quality your shot was going to be, because it was going to create this nice ball. And this one is 50 meters tall, and it had this lead pipe down the middle that you would drop your shot down and splash into a puddle of water at the bottom. 1889 this was built, and you'd be amazed, it ran for a very long time. They made their last shot here in 1960. Yeah. And now it's just a very interesting monument to itself inside the shopping centre, which is Melbourne Central Shopping Centre. And it takes the accolade of being Melbourne's most Instagrammed site. So if you have an Instagram account and you like to share travel photos, then maybe take a picture of something else, because everyone has already taken a picture of this, and you can just copy and paste theirs. I love walking along the Yarra River in Melbourne, especially on a nice day. It's a lovely river. Melbourne really makes me feel at home. It's a very lived-in and at-home city, especially if you come from London, which I appreciate most of you don't. But for me, it's got very similar atmosphere and vibes to London. You can have all weathers in the same day. It can be hot, then cold, then raining, then dry, then windy, then still. It's got everything. You don't know what to wear. It's fantastic. But in the nice moment of the day, this walk along the river is so much fun. There's big public art installations. This one's called Ophelia. There are bridges that cross across the river at a couple of points. So you walk a bit on one side, then you go across onto the other side, then you go back across. There are some parks and gardens along the river as well. Then there are lots of restaurants and cafes. Then there are some museums that look over the river as well. You got everything there. You could spend the whole day just along that river. There are 15 stops on this particular walk. And if you did all 15 and gave them a good amount of time, that's your day. And you've had a fantastic day. The walk itself, if you were just to do the walk and just nod at the places as you go, would be about an hour. It's a 1 kilometre walk. It's a 2 kilometre walk, and it's 1 hour to do it. So that's if you just wanted to enjoy the route. So the website, it's a fabulous website, by the way, whatson.melbourne.vic.gov.au. That's the official What's On website that the government has created. And the QR code, if you scan this one, will take you to the specific Yarra River Discovery Walk page with all 15 of the stops detailed. But there's another website that I'd like to tell you about if you like walking. Then there's a website called walkingmaps.com.au. walkingmaps.com.au. And they've got a good number of walks along the Yarra River beyond this one as well. And so if you want to look at slightly different walks around Melbourne, they've got a few. And the nice thing about that website is it's crowdsourced. So users of the website can upload their own routes that they've done. And so you tend to get some sort of off the guidebook tips from that one, because it's people giving their personal suggestions. I have never done this before, and it won't happen again. But I am going to make a sports recommendation. And let me be honest with you. The only reason I'm making this sports recommendation is because the Queen Victoria Market is closed on Mondays. So I can't recommend that to you because we're in on a Monday. So I thought, well, Melbourne is the site of several of Australia's major sporting fixtures in the calendar. They're big in cricket, they're big in horse racing, they're big in tennis, they're big in Formula One. it's everything seems to come together here in Melbourne. And so they have a wonderful museum for people who are interested in sports, and it's called the National Sports Museum, and it is out at the cricket stand, the Melbourne Cricket Grounds, which are an interesting site in their own right, just outside of the CBD. Actually, if you were going to see Captain Cook's cottage, it's just below Fitzroy Gardens, so same part of the outside of town. It's a very interactive museum. It's got lots of activations that you can play with, which is always a fun way to experience things. Instead of do not touch signs, everything is please touch, please kick, please press, please wobble, do whatever you can. Don't tickle, though. Please do not tickle the staff. That is not invited. It's a very immersive sports museum. You're likely to see a lot of children there, so if that upsets you, as I am aware it does for some Holland America Line guests, then I would recommend avoiding, because these smaller human creatures do tend to gravitate towards the sports museum, and they do tend to have quite a loud volume, and they have not yet found the volume control. You could walk it from the CBD. It's a 35-minute walk, 3 kilometers, or you could get a taxi or an Uber, which will take you about 12 minutes to get across there. By the way, if you really do like sports, and you're looking for some excellent sports museums around the world, I can recommend Doha in Qatar. If you're ever looking for a future trip, and actually I think they're looking at getting into the cruising. They're doing big development to encourage cruise ships to go there. But they had a wonderful sports museum with a very good Olympic collection, and there is also an Olympic collection here if you're interested in Olympics. Melbourne, of course, hosted the Olympics. If you like to get high, then Melbourne Skydeck is the place for you, and it is in the CBD, and just south of the river. The Skydeck is the tallest, what's the word I'm looking for? The tallest observation deck, that was the word, in the Southern Hemisphere, and you get some amazing views. It was completed in 2006, so relatively modern, and the skyscraper itself climbs 297.3 meters. So it is a tall building. When it was built, it was the world's tallest residential tower. But then I believe there was that building in New York, the very square one. It was like a skinny square one. I've forgotten the name of that one. I think that one overtook it. Anyway, it is still the highest observation deck in the Southern Hemisphere. It's open in the afternoon, so 12 p.m. it opens, and then it stays open into the evening, but that's not going to be so relevant for us. It takes a very long time to climb those stairs, so obviously give yourself ample time to get. I find getting down is the harder part. On the knees. But they have a fireman's pole as well, so entry costs 34 Australian dollars if you turn up and buy it there, but if you go online, you can get it for 28. So if you do know that you want to go to that, I recommend booking it online. You save yourself a little bit there. And when you're up there, you can go to a bar called Bar 88. Bar 88 is on the 88th floor of this building, and just above it is Eureka 89, which is on the 89th floor of the building. And Eureka 89 is fancy. It's a fine dining experience with a view, and they do very fancy tasting menus. If you're interested in that, they've got their own website, eureka89.com.au, and their executive chef is Rene Mattiano. Alrighty, on to my final of my 10. I tell you, I really struggled to put this one to 10, and so I'm sure when we do our Q&A later, we're going to have plenty more to chat about. But I thought, what is it that Holland America Line guests go traveling for. And I figure it's the thrill, isn't it? It's the thrill of seeing the world. And where can you get a thrill? A theme park. And I can just see you racing to get to the theme park. And I think you'll like this theme park. It's a bit scary, the entrance. And we're in St Kilda now. This is actually a whole neighbourhood, so I'm going to talk about the whole neighbourhood. But let me start with the theme park. I went here last year, and I went because they've got a roller coaster here, and I don't like roller coasters. I don't even like tenders. So, but by the way, you can own up to it now. Somebody wrote in on the Navigator app. Yeah, you can do the get in touch thing. Well, somebody wrote in with a joke. The issue is, I got the joke. I don't think all of my colleagues got the joke. So somebody wrote in to say, this was when we went not to Kangaroo Island, back to Kangaroo Island, and we ended up in Kangaroo Island, and we were doing the tendering. Somebody wrote in to say, given that we've had so much yo-yoing through the day, I think that Daniel should be on every single tender today. Which was clearly a joke, right? You should have heard the discussion in the morning meeting that afterwards, where they said, I thought this was brilliant. they said, I can't believe this. Somebody was so cross about the Kangaroo Island that they said that the cruise and travel director needed to be on every single tender to apologise. And he said, that's not what they're saying. It's a joke. And I said, I don't know if you've got a call back. If it was you, I don't know if you've got a call back. But I said that the correct answer was to phone you back and say, thank you for your feedback. We are taking it on board. And Daniel will be taking his tender driving courses. And by the end of the cruise, he will drive you on a tender. But you probably didn't get that response, I'm guessing. Oh, anyway, thank you for that comment. I laughed. I'm not sure everybody else did. So this is Luna Park. There are 2 Luna Parks in Australia. We've got one in Melbourne. We've got one in Sydney. They look the same in that they both have this hideous clown face that you have to walk through to go in. But actually, they are run as distinct companies. But they must have had some connection at some point. Anyway, the reason that I went here was for this roller coaster. It was built in 1912. Now, if I don't like roller coasters, why on earth would I want to go to one that's that old? This one looked quite tame because it's a wooden roller coaster. And it's still driven by a guy on the back. He holds on and he controls it from on board. And that gave me confidence. Anyway, I went last year. I went on the 12th of December. It was a monumental day for me. And it was too windy for the wooden roller coaster to run safely. So I still haven't been on the wooden roller coaster. But I did pay, don't believe it's free. St Kilda is free, but the theme park is not. I paid $51.50 to look at a closed wooden roller coaster. And then I took photos of my friends on the other rides, but they were too scary for me. So it was a very expensive day out for nothing. But it's a fun place. Me and my friends, we don't call it Luna Park, we call it Krusty's, which sort of gives you an indication of the quality of the theme park. But St Kilda is a really fun neighbourhood. It used to be more fun when it was the red light district of Melbourne, but now it's been cleaned up a little bit. It's less seedy. It's young. It's fun there. There are nice cafes. There's a good market strip. There's the theme park. There's the beach. And so, if you've been to Melbourne before, and you think, I'm not going to go to the CBD this time. I've done the CBD before. I want to see where do the locals go and hang out when it's the weekend, when it's the summer holidays, when it's this, that, the other. Well, this is a fun neighbourhood to go and visit that you might not have been to before. If you do go to St Kilda, I recommend not going into the CBD to then come out of the CBD to get there. You're easier to go direct. And from the ship there you see on the map, you've got this 3-kilometre stretch of beach. You could walk along the beach. There's a roadside that goes along the top. It's a fairly long walk, and I know about this, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Alternatively, you go... I'm going to try and demonstrate it on the map. You go in a road, and then there's a tram here. The tram ride goes along here, and so you go on that tram. Now that tram, because it is not in the CBD, you have to pay for. So then if you're going to do that, you just have to make sure you put more money on your Mikey card, which is the public transport ticket. We're going to talk more about that public transport ticket in the evening Q&A sessions to make sure that everybody knows how that works. But that's the other way to get out there. I know how long that beach is because last year I was having so much fun at Krusty's that we slightly lost track of time. And we decided, and I don't think it was the best of ideas, but we decided it anyway, that it would be quicker to run back to the ship than to wait for the next tram. Given that the trams are every 6 to 10 minutes, we should have waited for the tram. But I have a video, if you would like to see it, ask me later, of about 8 of us running along the beach. Oh my gosh, by the time we got back, we were zonked. Anyway, to close us off, this is a zoomed out map of where those highlights are. You can see that most things are in that CBD area and just outside, and then you've got the zoo further away, and you've got St Kilda's along the coastline. We're going to continue the conversation about Melbourne later, 7 o'clock and 8:30. So looking forward to chatting more about it there. I would probably say, having not visited everywhere in Australia, there's still a lot of this huge country to go, but I would probably say for me, Melbourne is my favourite place in Australia. So I hope you have a nice day there.